Trey, thank you for joining us here on Seismic Radio. It's a pleasure to have you on here on the radio station. Trey, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Wow, I don't really know what to say. Well,
okay, first of all, you've got a channel. Tell me a bit about your channel, and then we can expand from there. What's the channel?
Well, the God in a Nutshell project, and there'll be two YouTube channels here in the coming future. One that is where I put up the large documentaries, which take months to make, and that's the channel that people find right now. So some of the videos that are more popular on there will be the new one, Noah, that just came out, and that's a 3.5 hour long video. But I think if you click play on it, that you're going to have a difficult time pulling yourself out of it. I leave that in your hands, the listener, obviously, and of course the Nephilim video is a real popular topic. The Book of Enoch.
Okay. Book of Enoch. We did an interview under the Radio Eden banner some time ago. How's it going? I mean, I've noticed that there still seems to be a huge amount of interest out there about the Radio Eden, the Book of Enoch stuff. So people still are interested in it and they want to know about it. How's it going since? I think when did we do the interview? About a year ago or 2 years ago?
Well, that Book of Enoch, I would humbly submit to anyone that I personally believe that book is authentic, and I can make a good case for that. And we'll put up some things online that will demonstrate not only some stronger reasons behind why, at least it's my opinion, that it's genuine, or at least largely genuine and untampered with, but also going through some of the more common complaints about it. But
what are the complaints, Trey? What do people say? I mean, you get both reactions, don't you? When I look at some of the comments on your YouTube video, it's both extremes. It's like, yeah, I really love it, and then the other extreme, oh, it's not in the Bible, it's not really to be read and looked at. What are the complaints? I mean, what have you come across in your experience?
Well, let me start by saying this, that I would never argue that you base any portion of your faith, your belief, or anything on that book. It's like it's like me telling you that I believe that the history of Bill Clinton was probably written or had help by Bill Clinton. It's not that this is that's actually a really bad example. It's me stating that I don't think that this should be held to biblical canon, but yet I do actually honestly believe that it is written by the author that it is ascribed to have been written by, who in this case is Enoch, which would mean that book, though we don't have a copy of the original of that book, was a document.
Obviously, I mean, the original book would be before the flood, so it would be quite a long time ago when it was written.
Well, this would have been a family heirloom that would have been handed down through Noah's descendants. So it would have been written by Enoch, Methuselah, Lamech, and then Noah. So this would have been a family document that would have been very valued by Noah as well as his fathers. Very good. And would have been indeed on that boat. And so, like most of your biblical texts or ancient texts of any type, you're not actually looking, generally speaking, at the original. You're looking at copies of the original.
Okay.
Now, when it comes to Hebrew texts of any type, whether you're dealing with, this is almost carte blanche on Hebrew texts, but more specifically with the biblical texts, they are night and day and stunningly different from any of your other cultures, what would commonly go the name pagan cultures. For example, if I'm looking at Egyptian beliefs and practices, they may have stories that are in a broader sense identical conceptually, But when you're looking at the details of the stories, one temple and another temple may have different details of that story written down that completely conflict with each other. You do not find this. This is part of what authenticates those pages that we call the Bible.
Yeah. Okay. One thing about the Book of Enoch is that's sort of one thing I would contend, and why I kind of understand that it may not be in the canon of the Bible. If anything, the contents really refer to the last days. I mean, there are a lot of references to mysteries and secrets which will be more clear before the return of. I mean, it doesn't state the return of Christ, but it refers to the last days. So I kind of think that maybe if somebody in medieval times would have read the Book of Enoch, they would have had a very different interpretation to what we have today. And obviously, we know today we're a lot closer to Christ's return than naturally than in 500 years ago or 1,000 years ago.
Well, it comes as close as that particular text. Again, it comes as close as you're possibly going to get with any ancient text before Jesus Christ to predicting. You know, you can. You know, the Book of Genesis is redundantly predicting. One of the mesmerizing things about the Bible is not just the intrinsic prophecies, which are there present in the text. So it'll say, well, here's what's coming in the future, as if the text is written in prospect to be understood in retrospect. So you'll see kind of through the glass darkly that here are these events that are often given to you, couched in symbolisms, which I take very seriously. And then in retrospect, you look at them and you say, wow, that laid itself down like a perfect train track or a set of gears that were running, you know, right into place, click, 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 or a key sliding into a lock. But it's deeper than that. Inherent to the text is a fabric. It's a fabric of patterns. Prophecy is not just prediction and fulfillment. Hey, this is going to happen in the future, and then indeed it does happen in the future. So you've got this fabric of patterns. Where I'm going with that is that every page, every precious page of that text is pointing you to one single figure.
Okay, but just to clarify, you're not talking about the Bible, not about the Book of Enoch.
I'm talking about both.
Okay, good. Go ahead.
I'm talking about both texts. So with the book of with the pages of the Bible, every page is pointing you towards Jesus Christ, and that's a case. I mean, currently the Jews in Israel, many of them, they don't believe in Jesus. I could make a very good case that there's a very distinct candidate that fits all of those pages so perfectly and seamlessly. And one of the most stellar predictions in that entire Bible, where you're going from this prophecy style of prediction and then fulfillment, is in the book of Daniel, more specifically Daniel 9:25. And I point this one out in the videos because Daniel is giving you the mathematics for the exact day that Jesus Christ is going to ride the donkey through the front gate of Jerusalem. Mm-hmm. And this is the only day where he ever allowed anyone to announce him out as king publicly. Many times the Jews wanted to praise him out as king, and you'll notice in the text, this is one of the subtle details of the Bible, of which there are wealths, that he will shy away from the crowds the moment he senses or detects or that there's even any chatter about this business of calling him king, until one very specific day, a day that Daniel gave the math for, the exact math for, nearly 600 years in advance. Now, in those texts, what it says in the Jewish text, the Jews, the Hebrews, who by and large don't believe that Jesus is the Messiah, not only has Daniel listed as one of their major prophets, given them the exact mathematical time frame, which you can look on my website. I beg of you to do the math yourself. Please don't take my word for it. You can see the artifact artifacts that this would begin at the decree of Artaxerxes, where know and understand this. Know and understand this, that from the time that the word goes forth to restore and rebuild the temple in Jerusalem. So this isn't restoring the wall. This isn't restoring anything else. It's that specific decree until the king, the anointed one, comes. And he's giving the math for this. And ultimately that's 69 weeks of years. So this is gonna work out, just to give you the long and short of it, to be 17,880 days. Now, right after that passage, it says, and then the Messiah shall be, in Hebrew, karat. That means publicly executed, killed. The Messiah shall be karat. So after the mathematics, that gives you the precise day that he's going to show up through the gate on the donkey, as is predicted in Zechariah 9:9, the king cometh on the back of a foul donkey. The moment that happens, the next passage in Daniel is that the Messiah shall be killed. And this is one of many examples that are in those texts. And I'm telling you that those texts are far deeper than that. They make a perfect precision fabric. And the beauty of those documents is when you begin to discover that the authorship of those pages from Genesis to Revelation is not the guy holding the pen, but is the God behind the guy holding the pen. I tell you as a mathematical certainty that you have to find yourself on the other side of this show or wherever you're listening, that what you're looking at in those pages, is something that can't come from the writing of men. So it's not terribly surprising that when you're looking at these documents like the Septuagint, even the King James Bible, which is, I would argue, many would disagree with me, is weakened in some respects, but is still good. But what you're looking at in those pages is a perfection that will put goosebumps on the surface of your skin if you look at it. Now I bring up the book of Daniel only for the fact that when we're talking about Enoch, this book that commonly gets defined as a pseudepigrapha text, though I would tell anyone that I strongly disagree with you using that text as any type of foundation for your faith, or anything more than what I use it as, which is a supportive document, which is supporting the other text. And that indeed it does do. At bare minimum, that indeed it does do. I am arguing a step further, that indeed that document was written by the hands of Enoch himself. I can't tell you for a fact that portions of it might not have been tampered or weakened in translations and by the penmans, but what I am telling you is this, is that the largest, the focus of Enoch's document, is not about the things that cause, everybody, including the New Agey people, to go here, there, and yonder, and even guys like Zechariah Sitchin to make up their own translations of Sumerian texts and whatnot, and even make up things about Enoch, which I can't find in Enoch. But this isn't all about fallen angels mating with women, which is the part that excites everyone. It's much deeper than that. What he is predicting, even in those hours way before the flood, is the coming of one that he called the Son of Man. This is the same term, notably, that Daniel used for the coming of the Messiah, the Son of Man, the King that shall come, the one who would be karat, publicly executed, according to the text of Daniel. Now, Enoch is predicting two comings of this Son of Man, which is strange. People used to say, well, the book of Enoch had to be written after Jesus Christ came, because there's a whole chapter here that's talking about the coming of the Son of Man. Before the earth and the stars were made, his name was named before the Lord of Spirits, or Lord of Hosts.
Yeah, I mean, you find this a lot as well with theologians who look at the scriptures, and they look at the Old Testament. They see the precision of the prophecies, and then two arguments come up, and the first argument is, these prophecies must have been written a lot later than what we think, because the predictions are so precise. I think then the other argument is that the New Testament is being written to fit those prophecies. Both of it is untenable, really. Obviously, the New Testament was written in the first century, and some of the people that would have been second people generation, even first people generation, who were around when the New Testament was written, and they would have contested. I'm sure they would have contested, anything like that, vehemently. Okay. Well, I find it fascinating about the Book of Enoch. Also, what is quite fascinating is the general interest. I mean, one thing I've noticed when you sort of look on the internet and you look at YouTube and you see what people are talking about and what is sort of going around, that this book is actually been quite, what's the term, popular in a way. Everybody seems to suddenly get an interest in it. To be fair, it is mentioned in the Bible, the Book of Enoch, even though it's not part of the collection of books which make up the Bible. But so I mean, certainly they should at least know about it, and there's nothing wrong to read it because the Bible mentions it, and that also suggests that it's been around a lot longer than just the Christian era from the year 30, 40 onwards, but it's been around before. How many hits did you have on your website about the Book of Enoch? How many people have been watching it so far?
It's millions of people have watched the Enoch video, those videos, and this is also why that there needs to be.
The discussion for certain is necessary. People are watching it, people are getting the head around it, and I think based on that alone, it's necessary to discuss the whole issue and to really see what's in it, and also the different viewpoints. What is good, what is maybe not so good. Trey, I want to sort of move on the conversation a little bit. Some of the stuff you've done afterwards. You've done some work on aliens. Aliens. What can you say about this? Again, it's one thing. One thing I've sort of done over the last couple of years is sort of try to understand, what is really tickling people, what's going on, what are people worried about, and I'm looking at the Christian community as well as the secular community at the same time. And one thing I notice is that, or I have noticed, is that there seem to be a lot more occurrences, the whole UFO phenomena, people reporting about abductions and so on. And also, which I think is a good thing, the Christian community is giving an answer to this, and they're dealing with the whole issue of, the abduction issue, the UFO issue, the alien issue, and there are quite a few voices now you can hear on the internet, Christian voices who are dealing with the whole subject and look at it in a different light. I think the old attitude was, no, it can't be, it's just in your imagination, it's not true, it's a hoax, and probably a lot of it is a hoax, but not when people get traumatized by being lifted out of their beds and levitating and some strange creatures taking them and so on. Okay, Trey, tell me your stand on this. What do you think? You've done a film on this, and I would like to encourage every listener to maybe check out the channel as well. It's at godinanutshell.com. The YouTube channel is also called God in a Nutshell, yeah?
Yeah.
Trey Smith, just put in Trey Smith, and inevitably you'll get on the YouTube channel as well. Okay, Trey, your stand on aliens. Are they real?
Well, the correlations between like you were saying there, the levitations in the bedroom, the spookies that appear at the particularly the big-eyed spookies that appear at the foot of the bed, or the druid characters that watch. I hear about these druid characters very, very, very frequently.
It's interesting. I haven't heard about them as yet. I've heard about some other stuff. I haven't talked to you about it yet, but maybe later. But first of all, the whole alien thing. How shall we, look at this? It's certainly people have got experiences. That's one thing, which is a fact. They are seeing something. They're experiencing something. And you can't take this away from them. So that's really happening. That's a fact. And it's not like all crazy people or people who are one step away from a lunatic asylum, but they're just box standard, everyday, normal people who, go through life and suddenly they've got an experience they didn't ask for, they didn't want to, and they didn't seek, they didn't look for either. Trey.
Well, the experiences they're okay. So the alien stuff, the first things that I always point out with the alien stuff are that first of all the sheer volume of it. So you've got all over the internet you've got stuff that. You've got stuff that is coming and going in the sky. So
okay, is it increasing over the last century? That's one question. Your experience, your research.
Probably not. I mean, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I mean,
okay.
It's more people have video cameras now. It's happening more. Is it? I don't know. All I know is it's there, and there's lots of it. So and you've got people out there. I mean, you've got on one hand, you've got organizations like SETI that they're pointing satellite dishes all over the place, and they're listening for intelligent information out there, but they don't hear any. Okay?
I think they got one signal. They claim they got one signal from somewhere, which they never heard again, where they thought they got some intelligence.
Well, whatever the case,
fair enough.
They don't hear. They're not hearing anything.
Mm-hmm.
And while they're not hearing anything out there, you have one case or whatever that we think we might have heard something, or whatever. On the other end of the fence, you got people out there with consumer quality video cameras that are capturing this stuff night and day in the skies. Mm-hmm. So I'm telling you that there's a real disconnect here, and the mainstream science attitude is that, or at least the guys that you see on your science programs, these are the same guys, mind you, that'll tell you that Elvis is playing in the next dimension, and that they'll tell you all sorts of floosy stuff.
Mm.
They'll tell you that these are coming from aliens that live on the Goldilocks planets that are out there that they claim to find, but I can't actually find the Goldilocks planets. But that all being aside from the point, the fact is that people are capturing stuff all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
That's in the skies and the telltale sign. So with that volume of traffic, why can't anybody detect it, and why can't anybody hear anything? Well, that brings us to our next question. Is that the things are just appearing out of thin air, right? So the next question becomes, where is it when you don't see it?
Mm.
So you volumes of stuff that is appearing in the skies, plays little games and tricks in the skies, right? That bedazzle physicists because they're breaking what any physicist that would look at it knows are laws of physics. I mean, if something pulls a 90-degree turn in the air, and it's just one example, mm-hmm. and if it's something playing with us, I'm not suggesting that's what it's doing, but my point is it breaks the physics laws, and it just appears and disappears in the skies. The next question becomes, where is it coming from? And by the way, the fact that it does these uniform patterns and such in the skies is indicative of the fact that what you're looking at is a natural phenomenon, that it is in fact something that is at bare minimum under intelligent control.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the same thing applies when you're looking at something that appears into someone's bedroom and walks out of thin air. And also is the same thing that you're finding, I would argue, when someone is doing scrubbing and talking through a crystal ball or any other occultic practice where they're summoning something and it reaps or produces results, mm-hmm. which is not dissimilar to the person who's not using a Ouija board, but yet is still encountering little druids or little large-headed characters that are appearing in the room, which, mind you, the drawings of both, whether you're summoning something from the occult or whether you're just an innocent bystander in your bedroom and something spooky pops up at the foot of your bed and now you've got sleep paralysis. The drawings and depictions of both of these characters are identical, and they're both appearing out of thin air, just like the little orbs or little spaceshipy things or whatever they are that are playing little games in the skies. Now, let's take that one step further. The voices from these things, when you have people that are communicating with the aliens, whether it be your garden variety, basket buffet of New Agers who do their automatic handwriting, or they've got a message from the space brothers that are out there and they just need to inform mankind. or you're dealing with the voice from the crystal ball, the Ouija board, or the medium that's on every street corner in Hollywood. All of these voices coincidentally are telling the same message. Now, what that says to me, and I'm just a layman, but if I were to give an honest shot at what that means that the source of every single one of those voices is identical.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
There is something that is outside the train of vision, the train of material existence that we as humanity are walking in and out of, which is demonstrated by the fact that the thing is stepping into reality from somewhere that you can't see, or appearing in the sky from somewhere that you can't see, or talking through the loosey-goosey crystal ball from somewhere that you can't see or detect.
Mm. Trey, what are the messages? What are the messages which these guys come up with, typically?
Well, the message is always quite similar to the serpent and the garden, not to bring it up. And that message is that you can become godlike. You're in fact, and this has become a mainstream theology. We're evolving to become godlike. We are little gods, and you're going to find this same message preached in many of your mainstream churches. Not to bring it up.
Oh, okay, yeah. Maybe another subject. But yeah, I've heard some stuff where you get these guys allegedly coming from the edge of the galaxy, and the biggest concern they have is they start talking against Jesus Christ. There are a couple of other things as well. They're just to mention this at this point, they're here in England. We've got a lot of corn circuits, where you get like these crop circuits in cornfields, and there were some really fancy patterns. One of them, do you remember the little plate which was sent up, by the Viking probe into space, where they had a little plate, and in binary form they just tried to explain on which planet we are and what our solar system is like, and the elements and so on. And they sent the same plate back in this crop circle, and it gets more bizarre. Yeah. So they looked at this plate, and they just sort of did the plate allegedly, the way they operate. Sort of how many chromosomes they have, and the number system, and so on, so on, so on. Then the next thing, which I thought was quite interesting, so they sent this plate, just to explain, okay, this is what we are, this is what you are. And you could see this from the air, so people have made photographs from the air, and it was quite significant. And then the next thing they did is they put like a disc near it. I don't know whether you've seen it. And one guy, he analyzed the disc, and it was just like stubs of corn standing up and stubs of corn going down. And it was written in perfect ASCII code, in English as well, not some weird language, in English. And so you think to yourself, and the way it was done, you couldn't have possibly done it from the Earth or from below, because the whole pattern could only be seen once you were in an aeroplane and you were sort of 100 meters above it. And that kind of, I thought that's just a giveaway that this is not alien. This is probably not even earthly, but it's other dimensional. So it's the source is somewhere with creatures who are here, but they are not us. To pull this off.
Well, those crop circles, there's certainly a set of guys that came out and said that they were making crop circles, so there's no doubt that there's some crop circles.
No, I wouldn't contest that, but some of them seem to be quite complex, and if you do them at night, you would have to, I don't know, maybe there are ways of doing them, but that particular one was extremely complex. There was another one nearby where a little bit later, or a year later, you could see an alien face, and that was actually quite sophisticated. From the ground, you didn't see anything. You didn't even see anything from the sky, other than at certain times of the day, depending where the sun stood, and then the shadows, the way they felt, it would show you an alien face. But it's really interesting when you look at this stuff, and I mean, obviously, the conclusion I draw is the same, I assume, as yours, that it's other dimensional. It's not extraterrestrial. It's terrestrial, but it's on a different dimension. Creatures from a different dimension, not from a good one.
Well, there's certainly. Those crop circles are they become. You're looking at some of them, it becomes a tough pill to swallow that this was done with boxes and boards on people's feet. Although I wasn't out there. I can tell you this, that I wouldn't be terribly surprised, and you can toss that into the whole basket of other phenomenon that are that are similar to this. That you've got something that is something that's almost playing little games, if you will.
Oh yeah. There's no question about it.
And this is another symbology of if you've got something that's superior to you that was visiting from another planet, one would expect that it would that number one, it wouldn't be terribly frightened of you, that making its appearance known wouldn't be. It's almost like whatever it is building you up to something. An introduction, if you will.
Okay, what do you think? Where is it leading to? What's the ultimate aim of these creatures?
Well, the ultimate aim is the same that it's always been. It's the same that it's always been for the demons, the devils, these ex-angels, for the occult in general. I mean, if you look at the writings that come from those, such as Blavatsky, Madame Helena Blavatsky, as well as Alice Bailey, who was instrumental in the formation of the UN. She founded Lucifer Publishing, which eventually became, I think, Lucius Trust, and this is. And mind you, some of our little relationships and friends who base their doctrines on her writings, as well as Helena Blavatsky's. These are hardcore occult Blavatsky's. Are the same people who are instrumental in determining what goes in what gets funded and doesn't get funded, that goes in the textbooks for kids. So it shouldn't come as terribly surprising that I, for one, find those textbooks littered with things that back their themology, which and a part of that is, by their own hand, is to teach the evolution to people, to keep them, if you will, and I'm putting it in my lingo, just dumb enough to, put nuts on bolts, and are just smart enough to put screw nuts on bolts, and just dumb enough not to ask any questions why they're not getting paid for it. And you're going to find this intrinsic to the writings of people like Albert Pike. He's often credited as the not the founder of the higher orders of the Freemasons, but certainly very instrumental in the construct of the belief system at the top, which is pure Luciferianism.
So I mean, the whole thing ends up to an ultimate deception, getting people away, so as far away from Christ as you can possibly get them by any means.
Well, it's not just that, but it's a disenchantment. See, if you can divide people up with this one belief, you see, as long as you're not believing in Jesus, you're in good shape. The further away, you're from their perception, because this ultimately causes a world full of chaos. So if you've got a world full of chaos, this allows you, according to their paperwork and their intentions and desires, that at some point, when everything has reached a climax and people are just so disenchanted with this idea of ultimately Jesus, what you can do is you can release your special guy who they're all waiting for. And their special guy, according to their documentation, which is eerily similar to what as Christians we would define as the Antichrist. So in their paperwork, there is one coming forth who is the product of spiritual forces. These would be entities from the other side. More specifically, this would be the king entity from the other side, the one that sits on the throne of serpents, the great God nothing. For them, the one that brings the light of illumination, the one who offered the apple of knowledge to Eve. This would be one and the same as that character who will step forth in some body of flesh, whether it's, from their view, it doesn't sound like a physical manifestation as much as a person just like Pharaoh, who is physically embodied in totalitarian, in entirety, with the same spirit that infilled your first little Antichrist, Nimrod, and steps out onto the public stage, and he does magic tricks. But these aren't magic tricks that he bought from the local magic shop down the street. This is pure Janus and Jambri, authentic occult, which does, and will, even in these hours we live in now, it does reap results. Now, in a world where you have taught everybody atheism, and you have taught everyone that everything has a naturalistic explanation, and you would be foolish. See, this sets a perfect storm of a stage for your character to arise, particularly in hours of chaos, because if you have somebody that comes forth with occult abilities, right, that the world hasn't seen, I would argue to you that the world right now at this moment would not be prepared for that. And taking that a step further, particularly if you're angling the world towards moments where they're in chaos and they're looking for somewhere to place their hopes and their dreams, that they're looking for to fill the empty void. And so here comes along the slipshod answer to all of your hopes and prayers, which isn't really an answer at all. It's a Band-Aid over a great big hole, a Band-Aid that will bring further oppression. And that's the argument within their own documentation, which is why they call it a secret society, because if you knew about it, you would disagree with it.
Yeah. True.
And
the world is preparing itself for the Antichrist, and for the great guy who has got the answers for everything, who has got this place of power, who has got all the answers, and everything kind of feeds into this. So we've got the whole philosophy around it. We've got all the sort of secret societies who have been trying to take over secular powers, with all the education systems, being taken over, ensuring that evolution is taught. Recently, we had a situation here in the UK, and it kind of displays what the situation is, where here in the UK there are a lot of groups, not all Christian groups either, who cast serious doubt on the theory of evolution. And now the government has said, and this is a so-called conservative government who traditionally boasted to support family values, church values, Christian values, as opposed to the Labour Party here. And these guys have come up and they've said if any school teaches creationism as scientific explanation of how the world came into existence, the funding is withdrawn, so they don't get any funding anymore. So that means they are forced. They can talk about creationism, but they are forced to teach evolution and to declare it as being scientific. And obviously they don't have the choice to teach creationism anymore, under the threat of having their funding withdrawn. And I find this quite disturbing when I see that. I mean, to be fair, we've got a government who has redefined marriage, conservative government, and who suddenly decided that a marriage can be between anything, really. It's not necessarily between a man and a woman. And it is quite disturbing, really. It's disturbing where you've got somebody who stands up for, old values, that they throw everything overboard, and they've got the audacity to redefine, traditions which are thousands of years old. Okay, Trey, I want to move on to the next subject. You already mentioned this, and maybe we can sort of cover all of them. Eventually, I want to come to Noah, but before I come to Noah, evolution. Yeah, you've done a lot of work on evolution. There are a lot of videos out there on godinanutshell.com and God in a Nutshell, the YouTube channel, or I know you've got another channel which is just which you can find under Trey Smith. Evolution. How daunting is the house of cards it's standing on? Has it already fallen? Is it about to fall?
Well,
what do you say?
It fell before it ever.
the theory and teaching of evolution, and no matter who you are listening to this show, I challenge you, not for my benefit, but for your own, to investigate. I mean, I commonly hear evolutionists and atheists state that this evolution is a fact, and nothing could be more of a farce in truth than evolution. In fact, let me read you a quote by someone that I respect, Max Planck. This was the father of quantum physics. He said this. He said, under these current conditions, it is no wonder that the movement of atheists, which declares religion to be just a deliberate illusion invented by power-seeking priests, these are the claims of the atheists, and which has for the pious belief in a higher power nothing but words of mockery, that describes the atheism movements pretty well, eagerly makes use of the fringe edge of progressive scientific knowledge. So it's looking for peripherals to state its case. And then presumed, notice he uses the word presumed, unity with it. So the atheists presume that they have unity with scientific knowledge. It's a presumption, according to Max Planck. And this atheism is expanding in an ever faster pace. These are his words. It's disintegrating action on all nations of the earth and on all social levels. I do not need to explain. So this is Max Planck stating to his peers in the scientific community, I do not need to explain, the father of all physics, I do not need to explain in any more detail that if victorious, atheism, not only would all of the most precious treasures in our culture vanish, but, which is even worse, also any prospect of a better future. Now that was his opinion, and you're going to find that opinion along most of the greatest minds that ever lived in all of time. Now, let me read you another opinion. This is the horse's mouth of, this is the 33rd degree Mason horse's mouth. This would come right directly from Albert Pike. Okay, so this is what you hear after you've busted your rear end to get through all 33 levels of their little the little showcase over there. This is what he thought. This was his goal. The Third World War must be formed by taking advantage. So first of all, we're looking forward to a Third World War because we've got to form something with it. So this should be concerning from the start. What we need here is we need a war, because to get to what we're doing, a bunch of people need to die. Okay, so that's our opener. Okay, a bunch of people need to die in order to get what we want, because we're just good like that. Okay? Must be by taking advantage of the differences. We always take advantage of the differences if we're trying to when we're trying to bring something in the shade, we take advantage of what? The differences caused by the agentur of the Illuminati, the agents, okay, of the Illuminati, between the political Zionists and the leaders of the Islamic world. So we're going to clash these up against each other. Boom, 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 boom. We need chaos. We need people crying out for, please save us. Okay? The war must be conducted in such a way that Islam, or the Muslim Arabic world, and political Zionism, the state of Israel, mutually begin to destroy each other. Okay? So we want these two at odds while we're doing our behind-the-scenes stuff. But we need to go further than that. Now, remember what Max Planck said about these movements of atheism. So this would be a leader in science, what his opinion was, that this would destroy everything. Well, let's see if this agrees with the people that are funding the textbooks. Let's see if this themology matches up with that group of people. His next statement, Albert Pike. We shall unleash the nihilists and the who? The atheists. And we shall provoke formidable social cataclysm. In where? The Western world. Now, where is atheism? Where are these religious belief systems? And by the way, Charles Darwin, his degree was in theology. I can't find a degree that he's got in anything else. He was out there. He looked at some finches. He found that they had different sized beaks. And somehow he wrote a book called Origin of Species. And I commonly hear the atheists say, oh, no, evolution doesn't doesn't explain human origins, you would be stupid to argue that. Right on the cover of Darwin's book, 3 words: origin of species. How much more direct can it get? But let's go further. We're releasing the atheists, and we shall provoke. That's his statement. Our group, us, behind the scenes, what we're going to do, we're going to provoke formidable social catalysm in all its horror. Will show clearly the nations the effect of absolute atheism and the origin of savagery and the most bloody turmoil. So these are our intentions. Okay? Then everywhere, the citizens, obligated now to defend themselves against this world minority of revolutionaries. And who do the atheists and all these little groups, who do they believe they are? They're bringing you the wisdom. You would be stupid not to believe them. They're little world. We've got to tromp on those evil people that built our nation. Those horrible Christians. Those horrible Christians that came up with a division between church and state. Those horrible Christians that played a role in the Constitution. I would argue it wasn't Luciferians. It wasn't cutesy Albert Pike people that gave you these documents, no matter what they say on any internet documentary. I wouldn't argue that these people were behind the scenes, but the word occult in and of itself means hidden, secret. Their intentions weren't known. The people that were out there laying down their lives on the grandest altars of sacrifice were laying down their lives for things that today are taught in the schools that the kids need to be encouraged to tear down, to destroy, because that's how you build progress, is by destroying things. And I find a similarity between what's taught in schools and what Albert Pike believed right here, that the way that you build something better is you simply tear down whatever your parents did. You mock at them and hold your middle fingers at them and tell them how smart you are. That's what you do. You laugh at the people who built the things that gave you your freedom. You mock at the people who put the food on your table. And you throw it at them and tell them it wasn't good enough. And you befriend the people, just like the clips of things that I saw coming out of Ivy League schools the other day, that they were asked who is worse, ISIS, who is out there cutting people's heads off, or America. Every one of them, at least in the clips that I saw, they were saying that these are kids with freedom that are deciding what cell phone plan they want to use, what car that they want to drive, going to a several $100,000 a semester school, that are explaining these people are smarter than I am, and you are on the other side of the show because they're at Harvard. And in all of their wisdom and education, the conclusion they've come to is that people who will cut your heads off are more dangerous than the people who are desperately trying to fight for your freedoms and put food on your plate. Right? Those are the real nightmare people. You got to stop those people. The people that are trying to give you a life that might be comfortable, those are the real evils. Those are the ones that you defend against. Now, Albert Pike goes on. Then everywhere, the citizens obligated to defend themselves against this world of minority revolutionaries and atheists. The multitudes now disillusioned with what? Islam? Are they disillusioned with Islam? No. Are they disillusioned with atheism? No. Who are they disillusioned with? Christianity, whose deistic spirits will from that moment be without compass or direction. Why are they without compass and direction, according to Albert Pike? Because they've abandoned what? Islam? Atheist? No, because they've abandoned Christianity. That's his opinion. That's what we want to get to, according to his document. We've got to get them to abandon Christianity and to be disillusioned by it, because that would fill this void he's talking about. This void which builds things. This void which makes things a better place. While we've caused our social cataclysm by using the atheists that previously in the document, we were the ones that built those. We were the ones that put those out there for you. We were the ones that caused these contentions, right? And what's he going to go on to say? At this point, the world will be ready to receive. Receive what? What has Albert got for us? After all of this bloodshed and violence, what has he got for us at the end? What is our trinket prize that we get? Well, let's let Albert tell us. They're going to receive the light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer. Boy, that sounds like a noble day, doesn't it? brought finally out into public view. And it only cost the death of everybody to get us there, because nobody would have wanted this. This manifestation will result from the general reactionary movement, which will follow the destruction of two things. Notice he's got two things: Christianity and atheism. The two things, one thing was created to rub against the other thing, according to him, and it was his friends that are funding your textbooks. So does it come as any surprise that when I look at the stuff in those textbooks about evolution, that it doesn't match up? Does it come as any surprise that when you're listening to molecular biologists, like the one that just came out in the Houston Chronicle, one of the 50 most influential molecular biologists in the world, saying, I hear all these people say that they understand evolution, but I'm a molecular biologist, and I've spent 35 years on molecules and on DNA and on cells, and I sure can't find how it would even possibly work. And then he ends the article by saying, in my opinion, God did it. And this is not dissimilar to emails and phone conversations I have from heads of departments stretching as far as Berkeley, that's as liberal and Albert Pike as you can get, all the way to New York State. So according to Pike, Christianity and atheism both conquered and exterminated at the same time. And this brings the wonderful manifestation. Now, and many of these documents all mimic each other, but they're all the same. They're, this is true. And all of these people are spoiled brats. From Albert Pike, there's a guy, Karl Marx, right? Mm-hmm. Karl Marx, who many people, particularly communist people, idolize because, he just knows how to make the world work. He would know how to run your economies. This guy never held a job. Neither did Albert Pike, little cutesy Albert Pike. These are spoiled rich kids that don't know anything about the world, but know how to go around and talk about it. If we could just destroy some stuff, we could get our way.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard all these plans by...
It's like listening to the writings of rebellious 12-year-old girls. That's what it is, and that's what I see in this document. Mm. And what terrifies me is when this is preached from the pulpits of our universities, that we're now teaching our kids how to be idiots at a cost of $200,000 a semester.
Mm. I mean, one thing
for more than my money back.
I mean, one thing which scares me about these guys is, I believe that God is in control, and these guys, they can't do the way they would like to do. But one document or one truth or one plan which has been leaked is that they strongly believe in the reduction of the world's population from where we are at the moment, I think it's 7 billion, to about 500 million, because they believe that, the earth cannot sustain and so on. And the other thing as well is just a point. I heard it to a lot of these guys, who left these organizations, became Christians in the 70s and 80s. And they were talking about all these plans, what these guys had, and they gave years as well. They said, by this year, this is what they tried to do. They tried to do X, Y, and Z. And the encouraging thing I find is they didn't manage it. And to the listener as well, these guys, they've got really lofty ideas, they've got lofty plans. They do try to obviously prepare the way for their false Messiah to turn up and to be manifested, but God is still in control. Yeah? And these guys, they may plan, they may try to get certain events by a certain time. But ultimately, if God hasn't finished with us, they can't go ahead. There's a big barrier, there's big control. Which psalm is it? Is it Psalm 22 that they plot against the Lord of hosts, and God just laughs and scoffs at them? And I think this is no, it's not 22. Which one is it? It doesn't matter. But anyway, the point is God is in control, and that's a reassuring fact we have as Christians, to know that there are limitations for these guys, and they cannot go any further than the limits set by God into their path. Okay, we've got just a little bit of time left. I want to move on to the next big challenge, and you've done a marvelous work, which came out a little bit later than the secular version of this, and I'm talking about the Noah film. I've seen the Noah film, And I'm glad I didn't go to the cinema to pay for it, because it was not your Noah film I'm talking about. I'm talking the Noah film which was in the cinema, which came out, and to my understanding of the Bible, it was just like pure blasphemy from beginning to end. You created your own Noah film. Originally, I think the idea was in response to what's the guy called again? The author.
Well, no, I actually started working on that before it was a strange thing, because there were a lot of points that I didn't ever think that Noah would get done. And I began working on it long before I knew that there was a Noah coming out in the theaters. Now, I can't make that same argument on this Exodus that I'm doing.
Aronofsky, that's the name I was looking for. I had to look it up on the computer. It's Darren Aronofsky. He has done a Noah film. He's actually, he's got a Jewish background, so you would think he would get it right, but he sees himself as a secularist, and when he was interviewed about what he believes in some sort of weird incarnation film or something. But he doesn't stick, he's not an Orthodox Jew by any purpose. And when I look at the film, it was dramatic, it was interesting, but from a biblical point of view, it was just complete nonsense, utter and complete nonsense. He should have taken away the name Noah and just said, old neurotic man surviving the flood or something, but not call it Noah. Okay, Trey, back to you. Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to get the name of the author of the bad film and then come back to you with a good film about Noah.
Well, I simply believe this. I believe that the Lord laid that on my heart to do. It was, to be very frank with you, it was the most draining video that I've done, and also.
How long did you work on it? I mean, it was quite a long time. I remember. Was it about a year, or coming up close to a year?
Well, it seemed like it took that long. In reality, it probably took, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 months. But of actual sitting down but see, in that time period, there was a lot of learning that went on from my end, and I had initially intended to, primarily sort of demonstrate that this was an actual event, and as I got into it, the scope became larger than that, and the film ended up being a lot longer than I thought it would be. And at points that frightened me because of these sort of self-imposed, mental restrictions on how long I thought it should be. And when I just let that go and said, I'm going to make this, and it's going to be as long as the Lord wants it to be, and beyond that, it's going to say what He wants it to say, which is really what I did with the Nephilim as well. And the Nephilim I felt much more comfortable with. When I was putting it together, I felt like, man, this thing just flows like music coming in. When I was doing the Noah, it was almost like the Noah video, the Lord was teaching me through Noah in the video. And I think that this is the effect that it seems to have on other people who write me. I don't think that there's much out there that impacts people, at least of my things, as much as that Noah. And so you're getting something. You're getting something, from my view, larger in scope there in that particular thing. And I hope that the same will be said of this Exodus that I'm making, and as well as this one that deals with the little alien guys and the little demon guys.
Just two points. First of all, the Psalm I quoted, it's not Psalm 22, but Psalm 2. And I just looked it up and I knew it wasn't right. And it goes, why do the nations rage against and the people plot a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against His anointed, saying, let us break their bonds in pieces and cast away the cords from us. I mean, that's about the rulers, that's about the Illuminati. It's almost written for them. Yeah, they try to thwart the plan of God, but God God will just laugh at them. Yeah, they cannot stand up against God. God's plan will stand ultimately. Okay, back to Noah. Yeah, I know I've been a little bit with you on this journey, talking to you every now and then. That the film started off in your mind and in your heart to take a certain shape, and once it was completed, I felt that it went on relevant, but it went off on a few tangents here and there. Tell me a little bit about the tangents. I mean, it's important stuff which is being said, but it went from a clear line, and you went a little bit to the right and a little bit to the left, and you covered a lot of ground, over and above Noah. Trey, why? You said it was the Lord leading you, which I agree, it's fantastic. But tell me a bit more about this. Did you feel you were losing yourself in the film or times?
No, I just think that the Lord led it, and so I think that the things that are in there are things that He wanted in there, and so there's a lot less of me in that film than there is of. I don't think that the Lord allowed me to work on that Noah film during times that He wasn't really with me, because if I didn't get up and pray and talk to the Lord, then I couldn't even get my head cleared to work on it. So the things that are in there are things that He wanted in there. And often what I would set Him to do during the day would be stuff that somebody else probably would have used. Mm-hmm. But the things that I would ultimately use were things that I just knew. And I don't know how I knew, but I knew were what exactly needed to be in there and the order that it needed to be in there. Mm-hmm. And I'd like all of them to be like that, because there's a dance to it, and I would argue that dance that you have through that evidence in that documentary is the Lord taking you on a dance and showing you that He can take you on a dance. And so I would ask that you not let it end at a video like that, but that the Lord says, the Lord Jesus, God, the creator of this place, the heavens and the earth, says, if you seek me, you shall find me. If you seek me with not half of your heart, not some of your heart, if you seek me with all of your heart, all of your mind, and all of your spirit, I shall be found to you. And I would say this, that if you will step out, and that's what the faith is, by the way. Once we back off from all the cutesy little stuff of, all the alien guys, or the little peoples coming from other planets, or did we evolve from monkeys, like the guys on my TV screen, the guys talking about Elvis in the next dimension and all of these important things. When we step out of nonsense land, when we're willing to step out of nonsense land and begin asking the important questions, and ask them with a seriousness. Begin taking your reality and your life seriously, because these men are playing games. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you this: when your top science guy, they're releasing a movie called The Theory of Everything. I titled something The Theory of Everything a long time ago, and this Theory of Everything is the life story of Stephen Hawking. I don't mean to insult him, but I'll tell you would be troubled to find very much that he said that's turned out to be true. For example, a number of years back, and that's not his own fault, he doesn't know when he's wrong, which from my view doesn't make him a good physicist. And I'm going somewhere with that. I'm not beating up on him here, but as a practical example, just a few years ago, he was placing bets with university professors that they would never find the Higgs boson that had been nicknamed the God particle. Now, maybe he just didn't like the name. I don't know what the cause, but he had to come out later and apologize because they found it. This is just one example of many, including elements of his Nobel Prize, which turned out later to be incorrect, grandly incorrect. Well, at least to the extent just the portions that Stephen worked on were incorrect. What I'm saying is that on lists of physicists, if you were trying to do something serious, you would not go to Stephen if you needed a physics problem answered. If you were NASA and you were putting your life on somebody making it to another planet, you certainly would not want Stephen in there. Now, where I'm going with this is that this is the same man that we promote as the brightest man on the planet Earth. And he's only got one eye that works, which is interesting to me. One eye that works. And he uses the last muscle he's got left in that one eye to blink mockeries at the creator of the heavens and the earth. And this is the wisest man on earth, according to the media. Now, I would humbly submit, now you allow that to mean whatever it means, but when we step out of La La Land, there are 3 questions, and you can answer them. You don't need a science guru, particularly one that's wrong all the time, to answer these 3 questions, because you were meant and given every tool you need to answer these questions. Who am I? Where did I come from? What happens next? These are 3 pretty serious questions. And the most foolish thing I could think that any man would do is forget to ask these. You would ask these questions if you were taking a trip to Europe or Hawaii or whatever. Where am I going? How do I get there? What happens when I arrive? But about this entire life, that's not worthy of consideration. And I find it strange that there are so many lies about those very questions. Things that I find not just a little bit off here and there, but completely night and day different from reality. And if you step back from the center of the storm for a second, it becomes obvious. Not sort of obvious, not kind of obvious. It becomes so blatant that you look at it and you wipe your brow and you say, how did I ever believe that? And trust me, I've said that about lots of things in my life. I would beg of you, on the other side of the screen, not for me, not for anybody else, but for you. I would beg of you to find yourself worthy to ask those very 3 questions. And I have every confidence that if you ask those questions and don't stop pedaling your bike, because when you stop pedaling, it's over. There is no prize for almost. But if you're willing to go on that journey, you're going to find precisely what you're looking for. And I lay it in your hands with every single confidence, no matter what you believe right now while you listen to me, that it's going to lead you to Jesus Christ, a name that you might shiver at this moment. And that's fine. That's okay. That's okay, because I want you to find that on your own. In fact, you have to. Because in the end of this thing, it's not going to be what I said or what anybody else said. All of those chitter-chatters and voices, including mine coming right now to you, are absolutely irrelevant. You have to work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. And God is not against you. Not for 1 second. He's made this so easy that it's ridiculous once you can see it. But it's also easy to not make it. And I will tell you this, that there are many out there who will tell you that hell doesn't exist. That is not my view. And my view is probably based on more knowledge and interviews on the subject. People that have had life after death experiences, etc. I can tell you this, that you would have a difficult time convincing me that this place that is more real than the place you're in now, doesn't exist. And what's funny about these accounts about hell is that everybody down there is praying, even the atheists. Even the hardest core atheist in hell is doing nothing but praying. That's what you read in the Bible. The rich man is crying out for Lazarus. He's praying. If I could just have a drip of water on my tongue, you find the same thing in Enoch. They're in there and they're praying. Now here's the funny thing. is that they're all praying down there. Even your hardest core atheist, even Albert Pike is down there right now. And he's praying too. And you know what? He's still there today. Now here's the strange thing, is that they're all praying, but nobody ever answers. And they all wish one thing, that they had one breath left, one human breath left, that they could exit one prayer out of their little lips that would get heard. That's what they wish. Because all of the frivolous stuff and the stupidity, little Alberty Pikety Wikety stuff, and the, I'm gonna blink my mockeries at God because I'm the head science guy. Or over here, you got the other ones. I think it might be Elvis in the next dimension. This is where we're at. Or the college students that are going to say, well, I think that ISIS is better than the United States because we've been an imperialistic empire. And this is, and I read this out of my university professor told me this. When we come out of stupid hour, and I don't mean to say that, we'll begin to sober up in our mind. And let your mind have precision, not be a tangled knot of nonsense. And begin to say, where am I really? And step up. All of the Illuminati, waddy little characters and all the little secret societies, they're all looking for illumination. They want to step up. You want to step up? You were born up. The only place you can go is down. I would humbly submit to your hands to see and know who you are, because you were born above the very things they're trying to tell you you are. And all of these little plans of the little people here and there and yonder, put a smile on your face, because your redemption draws nigh. And everybody, I'll tell you this, everybody sees in the end. The question is, did you see beforehand? Trey Smith, and I lay this stuff in your hands. God bless every one of you that are listening to this radio show.
Okay, thank you, Trey. You're listening to Seismic Radio, and this is a broadcast on our radio station. You may be picking it up on YouTube or on the radio station itself. Just a little bit of information. So if you would like to check out more about Trey Smith, you can do this at www.godinanutshell.com. So it's www.godinanutshell.com. You'll find a lot of articles written by different authors, and also a lot of material as well. Trey has produced a whole range of DVDs and films. Most famous ones are on the Nephilim, or there are also films on evolution. What else has he got? Evolution, the Nephilim, the theory of everything, which he talked about earlier. And these DVDs are all available. They're really, really interesting. You can also watch them on YouTube. So I encourage you to do this. So there's God in a Nutshell YouTube channel as well. And if you Google Trey Smith, or you just put it into YouTube as a search item, and maybe God in a Nutshell as well, or just the film you're looking for, it should come up. I think there are a couple of other guys with the same name, and I think there's a basketballer and somebody else, but eventually you'll hit onto him. Also, you can go to our website, and there are links to God in a Nutshell, and from God in a Nutshell, I'm sure you can go to the YouTube channel. Our website is at www.seismicradio.org. www.seismicradio.org. You can also find a lot of resources there, so if you're interested in downloading a Bible, or maybe the Gospel of John, I think we've got it there as well. Or there are also sort of little bits of information. What does it mean to become a Christian? What is it all about? Yeah. So we've got a couple of clips where you can sort of just find out about it. What is the gospel all about? What are we talking about here? What is it? Why are we on air? And what is really the core message? And to sum it all up, as Trey said before, it's just about Jesus. God became man, came onto this earth. He died for you. He shed his blood for you, and the punishment and the punishment you deserve for your actions of not living the way God wants you to live, he has taken it up on himself. And if you can accept this, which many of you may not be able to, but if you can accept this and you can find that God has done everything for you to be reconciled to him, then you can turn to him. You can repent and turn to him and start a new life with Jesus Christ. That's really the message. But I would like to encourage you to check out our website as well and to look at the resources we've got on the website to try and help you in your relationship with Jesus Christ. Okay, that's all. Thank you for listening here at Seismic Radio. My name is Michael Schonborn, and it's been a pleasure to have you here on air. And I hope to talk and to hear from you again one day or another. If you feel and you happen to watch this or listen to this on YouTube, feel free to leave a comment and to engage in a discussion. Okay, God bless and all the best from Michael here at Seismic Radio.
Seismic Radio. Making the earth from under your feet.